YouTube. Today I'm about to be installing my new fork seals in the bike. New ones got blown out when I went and got the bike. Dude strapped it down too tight. So let's get this thing going. I'm gonna be putting all balls racing fork seals on the bike, fork seals and dust seal covers. Alright, so first thing you want to do, get yourself a stand that picks up from the triple tree. Before we use the stand, we gotta take out the front fairing because this piece won't fit in between there. It'll push up on the fairing, probably end up breaking it. Next thing you want to remove this bolt as long as this bolt, and same thing on the other side. Next thing you want to do is loosen these two bolts. Same thing for the other side. Alright guys, so I lied. Don't need to take the front fairing off, headlight off. My stupid self had the stand put backwards. The top piece that sits in the triple tree was upside down. So you don't need to take the front off to get the forks off. So now, since I'm gonna put the front back together, after that we can get the video started. Alright guys, got the front fairing headlight back on. Now we can get started. First thing you want to do is take the front wheel off. Before you can remove the front wheel, you gotta remove both front brake calipers. Alright, so now that you have the front brake off, just leave it hanging off to the side just like that. Alright, so now that we have both front calipers off, we can now remove the front wheel. Alright guys, now that we have the front wheel off, you're going to need to remove this cover right here. It's these two bolts, and then same thing for the other side. Two bolts. Alright guys, so we got that fairing piece off. Finally we can get to the best part, changing the fork seals. So as you can see, these are leaking pretty good. And this is just them sitting there. They haven't been compressed or anything within probably about a week. When they ride, they drip all over to the side of the tire. But first thing you want to do to remove the forks, remove this bolt right here, as well as the same one down here, and the same for the other side. Now you don't need to take the bolt out completely, just leave it exactly where it's at. The fork will slide down as you loosen the other two. Alright, so after using this bolt, and these two bolts down here, the fork should slide right out. Just take your time and work it through. I'm gonna shut the camera off, get these forks out, and move on to the next step. Alright guys, got the forks with the bike. So basically what we learned here was, if you got the money, take your bike to a shop. Save yourself the heart attack, the heartache, chest pains, damn near death. But if you want to save some money, do it yourself. Alright, so first thing what you want to do here is remove this cap and drain all the fluid into a bin. Alright, so after you drain all the fluid out of the fork, it should look something like this. You gotta get your fork tool and stick it in these two holes. I'll show you how. Alright, so it looks something like this. I'll leave a link below to where I got this tool from. Alright YouTube, so if you're doing this job solo, get yourself some ratchet straps, strap it to the bottom, attach to your tool, and ratchet it down. Alright, so what you want to do is you pull up on this right here with your hand. This lifts up and it exposes a nut. Go ahead and throw your 17mm wrench in there, or the special tool that actually comes for this job. So once you unscrew this, there will be a pin. You have to put this on there, otherwise it would suck down to the tube and you'll get it back. Put that on there. Then you slide this up, your whole fork will come right apart. Alright, so what you want to do is pull the spring out. And be mindful that the top end of the spring is tapered. So make sure that goes back at the top. Alright YouTube, day 2, working on the fork seals. Had to stop working on it yesterday because I had to go to work today, this morning, early. So, let's continue where we left off. So currently, I'm trying to get the old fork seal out, but it's like stuck in there. So, right now I'm trying to pry it out. That way we can get a new one on, put this thing back together. Hopefully get some footage riding. Alright guys, so after prying away at this thing, got the fork seal out. Had to use a little pick, or a couple picks. So what we do now is just clean up the inside of the fork seal, get all that junk out there, wipe it down, insert the new ones. Alright guys, so just put the new fork seal in. So for this one, you want this gap right here to be facing up. So it'll drop straight down like that. Now what I did was I put just a little bit of oil around the ring. That way it slides on a little bit easier. Then you want to press it in there. But don't pop out any of the coil that's in there. That'd be no good. And then once it's fully seated, you have that line right there. Alright, now what you want to do is get your dust cover and place it all the way down to the bottom. Like that. What I did was I put some more oil around the inside. You want to be careful because if you put it too hard and you damage your dust cover, your fork seal will start leaking and then your gels work for nothing. So take your time doing that. Once you get that on, we'll start putting it back together. Alright, so what you want to do is after you get the fork seal fully seated, you want to insert your clip back in there, which will fit right in that groove. Let me put the camera down while I do this. Alright, so it looks something like that. once the clip's placed in there. Make sure it's fully seated. All right, so next what I did was I took the top tube back on and slid it back over onto the fork. Now you want to be careful when you slide it down so you don't damage the inside of the fork seal as well as the dust seal cover. And what you want to do is slide it all the way down until it locks out. Just like that. Can't go down anymore. Alright, so all that's completely seated. Next thing you want to do is add your fork oil. So in order to do that, you need to get yourself a caliper. Per the manual, it says 91 plus or minus 2 millimeters for the oil level. So what you'll do is you'll stick this inside the fork, pour the oil, and when the oil gets to this very bottom, right there, it's good. Alright guys, so while the fork's completely decompressed down, add your oil until it hits the bottom of that caliper. So I'm just right there, 91.8 millimeters, which is still in range per the manual. So now we continue putting it back together. Now when you measure out with your caliper, you want to measure from the edge of the top tube down. Alright, so now we put our spring back in. Like I said before, the spring's tapered at the top, so make sure that ends up at straight up. Slide it over like that. Drop it down in there. Alright, so once you tighten it down, take out your tool to hold down the spring. Let everything seat itself back to where it should be. Tighten this down right here. Take out your tool, take off your ratchet straps, put it back together, all set to go. Alright guys, once you get this down nice and tight, go ahead and reset your bike or change your settings if you messed with the rod in there. Now I did not, so I'm gonna leave mine exactly how it is. New seals on. Now obviously, when you push down you're gonna see a little oil because I oiled up the dust cover, so it's not leaking. It's just that. Alright guys, so we got that one fork seal done. I'm gonna go ahead and get this second one finished up and put them back on the bike. As you're sliding the forks in, you want them to protrude 14 millimeters from the top, from here. Well, that doesn't look right. Alright guys, another thing. Don't be like me and put the forks on backwards, or the opposite way. Big no-no. Alright guys, got the bike all finished. Got the brake calipers on, forks. I Loctite every single, Loctite this bolt, Loctite this bolt, Loctite your caliper bolts. Blue Loctite, not red Loctite. And then make sure you pump your front brake when you take the wheel off. That way you can build the pressure back up. That's it. Bike's all set. New fork seals. Thanks for watching. 2 days of mess. Save this for another day.